Hello to everyone. My name is Anaïs and I am the FARMD Community of Practice Analyst. Welcome to our webinar, which is today dedicated to Public Development Bank's platform in IFAD, Perspectives from the Finance in Common Summit. This webinar is co-organized and promoted by the IFAD Inclusive Rural Finance Network, also the Agricultural Public Development Bank platform, and FARMD, which is hosted by the Platform for Agricultural Risk Management. Just before starting, I wanted to let you know that this session is recorded and will be then shared on replay on FARMD's website and social media. More towards the end of this event, we will dedicate a session for questions and answers. So please make sure to use the chat box if you have any question, and you can find the chat box on the bottom of your screen. Also to avoid any disruption, I kindly ask you to keep your video and microphone off during the entire session. And also I will now share the link to our FARMD Community of Practice, where we exchange on agricultural risk management. And I will also share the link to the Inclusive Rural Finance Community of Practice, to the Agri-PDB website, and Finance in Common as well. And of course, we highly encourage your subscription, especially because we will be hosting 2 more webinars before the end of the year. So to make sure you don't miss any event, please do join us there. And now, without further ado, I will leave the floor to Mark Souza-Shields for your introduction. Over to you, Mark.
Thank you very much, as always, Anaïs. Really appreciate all the work and effort and the collaboration we have with FARM and the Agri. So as many of you know, the genesis of the Community of Practice events are rooted in the action plan for the Inclusive Rural Finance Policy, which was approved in September of 2021, which seems like both yesterday and a million years ago. And the whole focus, of course, of the policy is how to get better finance to smallholders and the enterprises and the value chains that they rely on to create opportunities, to tackle challenges in rural finance and rural development more generally. The policy has 3 important principles to bear in mind at all times. One is creating people-centered solutions, and that's about meeting demand. What do people need? What do they want? What can they use? What kinds of tools are going to help them? Financial tools are going to help them, and what can we provide them in response on a sustainable basis? It's also about providing catalytic effects, both at the farm level, where the investments are made with the financing, but also within the financial system, and that's very important. How can we use finance or technical assistance or a number of other tools that we have in our toolbox to really help financial institutions, be they private banks, be they public banks, be they insurance companies, remittances? How can they help reach out and solve problems for rural smallholders and rural economic development? But it's also finally about building policy and financial infrastructure environment where inclusive finance can grow and thrive and innovate. And today we're really happy to finally get to talk and talk with and listen to the people from the Public Development Bank team, Agri-PDB team. We've been discussing this seminar for quite some time with Mohamed and Thierry and the rest, and we're really happy that we finally come to fruition. We're excited to hear from them, but also from representatives of Finance in Common Summit. And they'll share how public development banks are transforming national financial ecosystems, boosting agriculture, and scaling climate resistance through a range of innovative tools and cross-sector collaboration. This has been a long time in coming, and we're really happy to be here today with you all. So with that, I'll hand it over to, I guess, Hanya, who will take us through the event. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Mark, for the cohesive introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm Hanya, and I'm an Inclusive Rural Finance intern at IFAD. So for today's event, our guests will provide a piece of their expertise on tools used for a more inclusive ecosystem, particularly for rural smallholders, as Mark previously mentioned. And with that, I will walk you through the agenda of the event or of the day. We will first start with an introduction of the PDB platform with Thierry Latreille and Mohamed Khabelsi, who are the platform coordinator and platform program analyst for Agri-PDB. And then we will follow through with a second session on financing in common with Jimena Ariheta, who is the representative of the Finance in Common Summit, specifically the External Relations and Events Manager. And before we move into the Q&A, we will host a third session on the Agri-PDB platform, again with Mohammed, who's going to be accompanied by Alejandro Enciso and Joe Hu, who are intern and consultant at Agri-PDB. This time, and a lot more. And with that, I would like to yield the floor to Thierry and Mohamed to give us a deep view into the PDB platform.
Bonjour à tous. Hi to everybody. Can we start the PowerPoint? Thank you. So I'm Thierry Latreille, the coordinator of the Agri-PDB platform. You have here all the whole team working on this platform. Please go to the following one. So the Agri-PDB platform is first the emanation of a discussion during the first summit of Finance in Common, where it has been acknowledged that the Public Development Bank play a crucial role in the financing of agriculture and in financing sustainable food system. The fifth summit decided to create a thematic coalition on agriculture, and the Agri-PDB platform is the emanation of this coalition and the tool that we use to promote sustainable practices like agroecology and it's a hub where Public Development Bank can share their best practices. We are also the UN Food System Coalition of Public Development Banks. Next slide. And just a short description for the moment, and then my colleagues will complete. We have we have more than 150 members now, 141 public development banks. 35 of them are specialized only in agriculture. For the other ones, they have a public mandate in agriculture or have agriculture as an important part of their portfolio. And we are working closely, and they are also members of our platform with 8 networks of public development banks like ALIDE, AFRACA, APRACA, ADFIP, ADFIAP. So I will not cite everybody. I will pass the floor to Yue. We have a website that you can use. And Yue, please.
Okay, before we introduce more about ourselves, we want to know how much you know about us. So please, Anais, please share the question. Here comes the first question. Have you heard about us before?
I see that people are answering. I will wait a bit more because we reached 66%. Almost everyone. Okay. Okay, we reached 70% of people answering, so I will end the poll now so you can see the result.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, for those whose answer is yes, great. But if don't worry. By the end of this webinar, I believe that you can know much more about us, especially with the help of our website. In this year, April, we launched our website, and it's gaining visibility, especially after some webinars or activities we held. It's available in 3 languages, English, French, and Spanish, to meet the needs of PDBs from all around the world, just like the one shown by Tiki. On the website, you can learn more about who we are, what we do. Besides, there are also publications, multimedia resources, and other activities. They are all available. Next slide, please. As you can see on the right, these are the names of some new members we've recently keep in touch. Expanding our network is our ongoing task. Our members include banks from different continents, as you can see here. And we also have some small banks from countries like Fiji, Cook Island. That's all. And now my colleague Muhammad Ali will introduce more about what is PDB. Over to you, Muhammad Ali.
Thank you, Yue. And Anis, if you can post our second question, please.
Sure. Hopefully you can now see it on your screen.
Yeah, could you explain the difference between a commercial bank and public banks? Yeah, let's give them some times.
Yes.
And let me know about the percentage of responding. Thank you.
Sure. This is a multiple choice question, so even if there's no bad answer, maybe it can be more triggering. Okay, we just reached 20%. Okay. Now 60. I will wait for 70% and I will end the poll and share the results. Okay. Let me share the results now. Hopefully you can see them, Mohamed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Anis. Yeah, I see that the first 90% is the right answer, that public development banks often collaborate with government. Yeah. And yes, it's true. Commercial banks tend to avoid high-risk projects. Thank you very much, Anis. Yeah, appreciate it. Maybe, yeah. So what is public development banks or PDB? So PDB are organizations with a unique dual mandate. In addition to operating as financial institutions, they also pursue public policy objective. That's what makes the difference between them and commercial banks, and they do track reducing poverty, fostering economic growth, and supporting climate change adaptation. In agriculture, for example, PDB serve as a crucial tool for the implementation of country-level strategy and for the development of policy aimed at facilitating rural transformation at the same time. They do provide valuable insight and data to policymakers, helping them to design and implement rural development policy that are tailored to the needs of smallholder farmers. Furthermore, PDB offer long-term loans at lower interest rate than commercial bank, ensuring that those in need have access to affordable credit. Yeah, let's move to the second slide, please. So what is the role of PDB in development? The PDB can be transformative force of change by filling gap, addressing market failures in neglected sector. They achieve this through capacity building, catalytic investment tools, and innovation. For example, they leverage guarantee and concessional funding to attract private capital to high-level risk sectors. This public-private alignment not only enhances impact, but also mobilize additional resources for sectoral transformation. Besides agriculture, PDB also target education, health, and social services. Their counter-cycle role in particular is significant during economic or environmental crises, such as COVID-19, where they provide stability and resource to sustain livelihood. Yeah, the next slide, please. So regarding PDB operational models, yeah, and depending on their focus, PDB operates through main models we have identified. First-year banks lend directly to end users, such as smallholder farmers. For instance, Banco Agrario de Colombia offers direct credit to farmers to enhance productivity and livelihood. The second-year banks provide wholesale funding to other institutions. As an example is FIRA in Mexico, which channels resources through commercial banks to expand outreach. Finally, Hybrid's model blend these approaches, enhancing both outreach and engagement. A notable example is BNDA in Mali or Crédit Agricole du Maroc, which lends directly to cooperatives while also supporting other institutions. Yeah, next one, please. Regarding funding sources, PDB draw from multiple funding sources, including government allocation, multilateral and bilateral loans, and market borrowing, such as green bonds. Further, blended finance combining concessional and commercial funding is particularly important in agriculture, as it de-risk investment and attract private sector. private capital. This mechanism enables PDB to implement climate-smart and inclusive solutions on a larger scale. PDB often collaborate with MFIs and the private sector to de-risk investment and support innovative projects, while the private sector often takes on riskier and innovative investment. PDB provide the foundational loans that encourage this partnership. In addition, PDB are closely linked to national policy, which differ them from commercial bank, providing financial and expertise to align their effort with poverty reduction strategy and climate action goals. To this end, our platform supports PDB in achieving this objective by equipping them with tools for impact assessment, monitoring, and evaluation. We help them to design and implement initiatives that align with NDCs and Agenda 2030. Yeah, moving to the next slide to see the partner of PDBs. And as you see, PDB may work with the following financial institution on the left side, like MFI and MDB, in relation to financial partnership. As well, PDB can establish formal collaboration with university and think tank. For example, PDB can conduct research and participate in policy dialogue, as well as support the financial framework for farmers and stakeholders to stimulate growth and ensure long-term success of development activity, as is the case for the great work performed by our colleagues in the platform of agriculture risk management. Yeah, if we can post the next question, Anais, please.
Sure.
Thank you. So have you collaborated with any PDB, or has the PDB been involved in the design or implementation of any of your project? If so, which bank? And I will let Anas comment on the result. Thank you.
I will wait a bit more. But since on the past question, everyone got it right, hopefully some people will have already collaborated with PDB.
Let's see the level of engagement of your stakeholder with public banks.
Yep. Okay. It's 30% now. Okay, maybe we can a few more seconds and then I will end the poll.
Thank you.
Okay. I will now share the results. Okay, I think hopefully you can see.
Cofide from Peru.
Yes, Cofide within the Avanza project, currently under implementation in terms of inclusive financial services. I think Claude said yes. Some said that they do not work. Some PDBs. The BND of Mali. The National Economic Development Bank in Burundi. And the Development Bank of Ethiopia. Okay, I think we can go back to the presentation then.
Thank you, Anis. And if we can move to the next slide to see the
I think I just need to.
Oh, yeah, yeah, the schema, yeah, the schema.
Oops, sorry, but I think I need. Can you still see the poll?
Yes, yes, we can see the screen.
I was stuck.
Okay. To move to the hierarchy.
Perfect.
Voilà. As you see, public development banks in the ecosystem, they receive a mandate from the government, and they do work in financial intermediation to direct lending or wholesale lending with MFI cooperatives, NGOs to enhance and outreach and private partnership. They do as well non-financial roles like providing technical assistance, capacity building for more development impact, and they do mobilize blending tools such as guarantee, constitutional financing to mitigate risk and attract private sector. Thank you, Anis, and we can move to the next presenter. Jimena, please.
Thank you so much. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Anaïs, Thierry, Mohamed Ali, and everyone from IFAD for having me today. Can you please move to the next slide? Next. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you so much. So I'm going to give you first a brief presentation on the financing common for those of you who don't know, and then I'm going to deep dive a bit further on our work streams, main success stories, and also what everyone wants to know more about the upcoming Financing Common Summit. So for those of you who do not know, the Financing Common is a global movement launched in 2020 and gathers more than 530 public development banks. Our main aim is to transform the financial system and to align the PDB's agenda with the Sustainable Development Goals, the Paris Agreement, and the Paris Agreement for Climate Change. Next slide, please. The rationale behind the FIX movement is that we wanted to create a network between PDBs from different sizes, maturity stages, operational capacities, which is something that did not exist before. And we believe that this is essential to unleash PDBs' full potential as specific financial players. Linking it to the fact that PDBs need to work as a system, because more synergies between the multilateral development banks and other development banks could contribute to ramp up the regional, national, and subnational investments, including from the private sector. And as Mohammed Ali was mentioning before, it is crucial to note that PDBs are unique actors in the financial architecture because of their public mandates, which are anchored in their respective economic and social ecosystem. So PDBs can actually build bridges between governments and private sectors, between domestic and international priorities, and between short-term and long-term objectives. Next slide, please. So quickly, the fixed vision is to make sustainability the new form of finance, from origination to deployment, the first mile to the last, and help unleash PDB's potential to support sustainable development. The fixed mission is to advocate for and help PDBs to better fulfill their role through research, dialogue, and peer learning so that banks can reshape investment practices and further align their financing and operations with the 2030 Agenda, Paris Agreement, and the biodiversity framework. And how this is done. So next slide, please. Again, yes, thank you so much. So the FIX works around 4 main pillars. So the first one is the community of practice, the policy dialogue, we have a knowledge hub, and then last but not least, we have the annual summit. So I'm going to go into further detail on each of these 4 pillars. If we can move to the next slide as well. Thank you so much. So one of the 4 founding pillars of the FIX is the community of practice, which aims to steer the practices, impacts, and operations of public banking institutions towards greater sustainability. This community of practice is actually one of the components of the community of practice is the 13 thematic coalitions, which unite public development banks with shared interest in critical issues. These coalitions are actually very heterogeneous. They work differently. They specialize in knowledge hubs. They foster collaboration between practitioners, researchers, civil society organizations, etc., to cultivate and implement innovative solutions. So as mentioned previously at the start of the webinar, the Agriculture Coalition is one of the 13 thematic coalitions, but there are many others, as you can see on the slide, and they cover a range of topics from water sanitation to gender equality, art, culture, sports. So we can share with you further information on the list of thematic coalitions and also their focal points if any of you is interested in getting to know more and to get involved. Next slide, please. Another key component of the community of practice is the FIX Financial Innovation Lab, which was launched in our FIX G20 Rio de Janeiro event in May 2024. So this is led by the Climate Policy Initiative, the Inter-American Development Bank, and the FIX Secretariat. The goal of this is to advance financial tools and innovative solutions for public development banks. The FIX Lab actually works around 4 main themes, and we aim to disseminate knowledge, experience among the FIX members, and to remove the barriers to financing. The 4 main themes are climate resilient debt clauses, debt for nature swaps, domestic carbon markets, and currency risks. These 4 are materialized in 4 working groups with different leaders. An important thing to note is that the FIX Lab also comes with an incubation component, which means that innovative ideas will be supported by grants and technical assistance. This was actually launched now early November, and the call for proposals is open to all PDBs and is going to be open until December 2024. So if you're also interested in this, please do not hesitate to reach out. Successful applications will receive a CPI technical assistance and expertise, along with financial support of between $250,000 and $500,000 US dollars, depending on the budget and the needs. And then at the end of the development phase, the bank will have a well-built financial instrument to pilot, and will continue working on this in the support of CPI. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the second pillar that I was mentioning is the policy dialogue. So FIX has been working closely with the G20 since 2021. It started like at the FIX 2021 summit in Rome, actually. It was co-hosted by IFAD. FIX will continue its proactive engagement to this special FIX G20 dialogue to explore the linkages and specific contributions that PDBs can feed into the G20 finance track, including the Sustainable Finance Working Group, which we're actually members of, the Infrastructure Working Group, the Task Force on Climate Finance Mobilization, and also the International Financing Architecture Working Group. Linking it back to the event that we hosted in May, we drafted a chair summary that was transmitted to the Brazilian presidency, which focused on access to concessional and innovative financial solutions, increasing blended finance and private capital mobilization for infrastructure, and scaling local and subnational finance. Next slide, please. Then we also have a very important, I'm sure you've heard of it, is the UN Fourth Financing for Development Conference to be held in Sevilla in Spain in 2025, which will take stock of the progress made since Addis Ababa in 2015. Since we're talking about public development banks, UNDESA actually recognized the importance and the crucial role of public development banks and the role they have to play in the reshaping the financial architecture. So FIX was actually mandated by the UN Deputy Secretary General in charge of economic and social affairs to lead the preparatory work on the public finance track for the conference. And to carry out this work, we have formed a steering committee and a sounding board, which is composed of multilateral development banks, the regional associations, and the International Development Finance Club. And we have drafted an elements paper outlining recommendations for reforming the global financial system. Next slide, please. Now, if we focus on the third pillar, which is let's say the research pillar or the knowledge pillar, we have the Global Research Network. And since 2020, this international research initiative has been structuring to bring together researchers and academia from more than 30 institutions. They recognize the critical role of public development banks, and they aim to gain further knowledge on the appropriate set of governance, expertise, regulatory and funding criteria, and just to make more well-rounded based policy recommendations to unleash the full potential of PDBs. Next slide, please. Under this initiative, it is important to highlight a key deliverable that is going to be finalized soon for the 2025 summit. And it's that the World Bank, UNDESA, and IFAD have been working on this PDB reference book, which basically aims to gather consolidate all the knowledge existing on PDBs, exploring their pivotal role in the global finance and addressing contemporary challenges. This reference book or handbook is going to include data analysis and case studies that can inform operational strategies to public development banks, making it a key publication for practitioners and researchers under the FIX umbrella. And last but not least, so I'll be quick, we have the last, which is the Financing Common Summit, which is another fundamental pillar of the movement, which is basically an annual platform for political impetus when we want to bring all FIX members together. And this occasion provides a valuable opportunity to do financial announcements, commitments, and take stock of the progress from last year, and also to set a strategy and direction for the years to come. The annual summits also encourage partners and willing stakeholders to join forces and the creation of new partnerships. The 5th edition of the summit is coming soon, so it's going to take place in Cape Town from February 26th to the 28th, and is co-hosted by the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank and the Development Bank of Southern Africa. The overreaching theme is fostering infrastructure and finance for just and sustainable growth, and we welcome all of you to join the summit. The FIX team is currently working on the analysis of all the proposals received for the program, and we will be getting back to those of you who submitted proposals by mid-December. And next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah, the FIX team is available should you be interested in any of these activities, and thank you so much.
Okay,
Over to you,
thank you,
Alejandro.
Jimena. Thank you. Can you hear me properly? Because I think my connection is not very good. So in any case, I can just turn off the camera.
It's
So
okay,
thank
Alejandro.
you. Thank you, PARM team, for organizing here. I'm happy to be here to discuss with you. Thank you to Jimena, to Mohamed, and to Thierry. Now we will talk a little bit more about the agricultural PDB platform. Starting for what is the main goal of the platform. The main goal of this team is to strengthen the capacity of the banks to finance sustainable and inclusive food systems. And in order to do that, we have to address the gaps that the banks have. But every bank is different. Every bank has different gaps to address. But generally, we have two gaps in governance, management, and technical capacity. And how can we address these gaps? We can promote blended finance. We can catalyze investments, sharing best practices, helping to build capacity, and fostering partnerships to align the bank's portfolios with the objectives of the Paris Agreement. Just to highlight that the platform prioritizes underserved groups such as women, youths, and smallholders. But also, before doing that, we have to know better our members, to know that each member is different. So the platform did a research led by my colleague Mohamed Ali, where they select some typology criteria. That after that, they created 3 groups of banks, and it will allow us to deliver better the service to the banks. So please, Mohamed Ali, over to you to explain this further.
Thank you, Alejandro. And as he said, in order to better serve our PDB members, the Agri-PDB Platform, in partnership with IFAD and with Christian Fusélier's help, conducted 2 years ago numerous studies, surveys, and bibliography reviews to gain deep understanding of PDBs. So among 64 criteria found that can classify PDB, we have come up with the most accurate 7 criteria, starting with the degree of specialization. If the bank is universal or sectoral, then the size, if it's micro, small, medium, large, or mega, the government role with the PDBs, the level of intervention, as we said before, first tier, second tier, or hybrid, the rating model, the rating from organization like Fitch, the country context, it's fragile or not, and the financial performance in terms of return on asset, return on equity, and non-performing loan. Next slide, please. Based on the result and further exchange with the colleagues at IFAD and IFAD, we can mention, for example, Claude Thor and Marc de Souza. We have classified PDB in 3 categories. First, priority support group for small banks, mostly from low-income country with small asset, that the platform will support them to revisit their business model and improve their governance. Second, the target support group for the intermediate ones, which need to implement more digitalization tools and need support from the platform to the mobilization of resource. And finally, the reference support group, mostly from upper middle income country and high income country. Those will be mobilized to animate the working group and help the others groups through peer-to-peer exchange. Yeah, if we move to the next slide, please. So 2 years ago, we have got the result of this of the feasibility study, and we have the first one, learning and knowledge management, when the platform is conducting multiple working group, for example, adaptation to climate change, agroecology, inclusive finance guarantee, or adaptation board. The good practices and success story identified will be implemented with a small group of PDB under the second pillar, capacity building and innovation, where the platform offer training, capacity building to those small group of PDBs and help them with coaching of PDB staff. Then those work will be published and disseminated to the website of the platform thanks to UA, where the platform under the third pillar, advocacy and awareness raising, will support green and inclusive food system, publish update, facilitate partnership and organization of technical assistance. Those three pillars are coordinated by our manager Thierry Latrey, and this pillar thinks the platform is ability to drive impactful and sustainable outcomes. Over, and thank you to the next presenter.
Okay, I will explain the activities of the platform, starting for the working group activities. Just to let you know that the working group structure has three principal sessions. The first session is a presentation of general presentation of the topic. We introduce the topic that is chosen by the platform members, especially the platform members' needs. The second session is a presentation of pragmatical tools for the PDB, where technical partners will present tools, but also PDBs present the best experience using some tools. And the third session is with a small group of banks that show interest in learning more and working closely with these tools. Each session we try to do in English and Spanish, and in the future will be also in French. And before every working group, we share a technical concept note that is prepared by experts. During the working group, we have presentation of agricultural PDBs, especially from the group 3. And after the working group, we share a synthesis note with the highlights of the sessions and also the key elements and takeaways. Please, next slide. Just for give you some example of the working groups, in the 2022, there was a working group in how the fintech technology can help the PDBs. Also about the Ukraine crisis, what is the consequence in the food security and what is the role of the PDBs. In 2023, there was the first session on the working group in agroecology. In May, in the same year, there was the first session of financing adaptation to climate change. And this year, in 2024, we have the second session of the agroecology working group. Please, next. The platform is delivering another kind of activities as training, events, missions, and webinars. For example, we did a training with some PDBs in the ABC map tool that I will explain a bit more later. The platform secretariat participate in events just to highlight the activities and the importance of the platform. We also did 2 missions in 2024 to Malawi and to Mali to identify what are the needs of these banks. And also we did webinars. The most recent webinar was fully in French, was dedicated to sub-Saharan African PDBs and was about the guarantee mechanism. Please. Now I will talk a bit about the tools that we have discussed in the working groups. The first tool is the ABC map tool that was developed by FAO. It is a geospatial tool that allow the banks to assess the environmental impact of the projects in the AFOLU sector. And it can assess impacts in adaptation, biodiversity, and carbon emissions. A second tool is a tool that was developed by FIRA in collaboration with AFD. This tool is an Excel-based tool that allows the bank to estimate what is the environmental impacts of the financing portfolio and also at individual credit. And this tool even allow us to go a little bit further. So we organize a peer-to-peer between FIRA, Mexico, and Finagro, Colombia, where both teams sat down for discussing the benefits, the challenge of implementing this tool. Another example is the Calao solution by the Alienor Consulting. This analytical and monitoring solution was designed to support agricultural finance and credit guarantees. It incorporates technical and economic data specific to agricultural value chains. It's easy to adapt to the local context and enhance credit risk assessed. these tools have to be pragmatical, have to be easy to adapt for the banks, although they will face some challenge to adapt these, but the tools will not mean increase the cost of the credits. Otherwise, the credits of the loans will be less competitive in the market. Next, please. Just to give you more examples about the tools, we have the environmental and social risk management tool made by two agricultural research institutions that assess the environmental and social risks of the projects, beginning by identifying the potential environmental and social risks associated with a given project. We also have the AgroMed Shell by FAO. This is a software toolkit for assessing the impact in climate condition on crops and analyze the risk. We have also by IFAD. IFAD presented two tools: the resilience design and monitoring tool. This tool monitors the progress in enhancing rural household resilience. We have the EFA Plus tool, also by IFAD, that provides data-driven guidance for design, implementing, and monitoring, and adaptively managing agroecological investment at both micro and macro levels, micro farm and micro enterprise level, and also an aggregate portfolio or project level, to evaluate the viability, returns, externalities, and the benefits of agroecological investments. We will do another event that my colleague Thierry will share with you, and maybe we can open a discussion here. Please, Thierry.
So, thank you. And yeah, for the coming months, so we will try to organize a new working group, to launch a new working group on rural finance inclusion. And we expect to have a 6th session starting next year during the first term of 25. We will organize also a working group on how a PDB can build a nutrition-sensitive project and what could be the tools. This should be organized in January before the Nutrition for Growth conference in Paris. And we will continue to have webinars on agroecology and adaptation to climate change and climate finance. This will be this will be renewed every year. And on guarantees, the first event that we organized was successful, so we will continue to organize webinars on this topic and on de-risking tools, but also what could be the risk management tools that a PDB could implement. And we will participate to the 5th Finance in Common Summit that Jimena mentioned. We have proposed a side event and a breakout session, so we hope that we will be in the agenda. And Jimena mentioned also FFD4. So Finance for Development has a prep meeting in New York next week, and the Agri-PDB Platform, thanks to IFAD, could organize an event where the voice of PDBs we will be able to hear the voice of some PDBs and their participation to the global debates of FFD4s and to see how small PDBs, smaller national public development banks can play more effectively a role for sustainable food system. And I think that we have a final question.
Yes, we do. I will launch it now.
And we organize thematic webinars according to the questions also raised by our members, mainly the public development banks. But it would be also interesting to hear from you what could be, according to you, the missing topics in which topic we should highlight in the next months and next years, and to better make a link between the public development banks and their partners in every country.
I will leave a bit more time for attendees to answer. And Also, as we are leaning towards the Q&A, remember that you can use the chat box if you have any question to the Agri-PDB team or Jimena. Okay, we are getting some answers now. We'll wait a few more seconds and then I will end the poll. Okay. Okay, let's see what are the things.
Just to complement also the working group on rural finance inclusion. So we hope to have here also more insights that we could share with your network next year, at the end of next year, and with examples also of collaboration with PDBs in some countries. And so we could use also this next working group for to continue our collaboration between our two platforms.
Okay, let me just share the results. Okay. Thierry, can you see some of the answers?
Yes, gender, of course. Yes,
I think also financing of modernization of rural livestock farming.
Yes.
Incentives to prevent soil erosion, increase soil fertility, food safety, and reduce risk. Collaboration of IFAD with other organizations, finance inclusion, which I think you already mentioned today, for next year. And agroecology, climate finance, risk management, climate financing for smallholder farmers. And Christian also said which simple and concrete support to PDBs from the Agri-PDB platform. Which I think it can be also a question to open the Q&A now.
Our members, for the moment, just to also partly answer to the last question on our, I saw a question with the link with the other. Sorry, no, maybe I miss.
Maybe it was before.
No, or maybe it's me. Just wanted to mention that we are also in contact with some microfinance institution, and we try to collaborate with them in some webinars and to highlight also the link, for example, that a PDB can have with microfinance institution. Some tools can be shared also between MFI and PDBs. They don't have the same objective, so we don't organize webinars for this whole community of every financial institution in a country, but we try to make the links when it's possible. Mohamed Ali?
Yeah, thank you, Thierry. Just to respond on Christian's question, that we are working now with BNDA in Mali and Mike in Malawi on training and capacity building and implementation of digital tools. And we will continue the work next year, I think, Thierry, with Benin, Togo, and maybe Uganda. Correct me if I'm mistaken.
And the work that Alejandro mentioned, the exchange between FILA and Finagro was also a concrete answer for Finagro came to us with a question, and they had the national strategy of Colombia had changed, and they had to change the reporting and to improve the reporting on several environmental indicators. And Finagro asked for our help so we try to identify in our network which bank had already encountered the same problem and could help Finagro to fulfill this need. So this was another example.
I think someone also had it to the question, maybe I stopped the poll too early. So someone said to add the topic strengthening relationship and coordination with the regulators. And
yeah, it did, and the regulators the regulators play an important role, but sometimes PDB can also influence the regulators, and I think that we can have the example of FIRA, who helped also to change a regulation on climate finance and to improve a regulation on climate finance in Mexico. So it can go also in both ways.
Maybe waiting for if someone wants to ask a question. I saw, just going back to the answer that they provide to your third question about which PDB, if they were involved in the design or implementation of any of their projects, any PDBs, and out of the one they mentioned, COFIDE or BNDA of Mali or National Economic Development Bank in Burundi, are some of them part of your platform?
Yeah, yes, they are, and BNDA and Burundi and BNDA Mali are very active members. We should have a meeting with COFIDE Peru, but they already participated to the last event in. I remember they were here in September on adaptation to climate change. I think so, but Mohamed Ali, Alejandro, don't hesitate to compliment.
Yeah, I think there is another question on Nigeria, and we are what about in Nigeria, the rural finance training for financial service provider? For our case as the PDB platform, we are trying to reach out to Nigeria and set up a first introduction meeting, like Thierry said, with COFIDE. I don't see any other question in the chat. Please add in the topic, strengthening relationship and coordination with regulator. Another action we are trying to build is a policy dialogue between the government in Malawi and the public banks, MIC. And we are trying to collaborate with the CDPM on these topics to see how we can push for the government to regulate with regards to climate change and agriculture financing. Yeah, and we do include other stakeholders in this policy dialogue, like KfW, GIZ, the German Corporation, as well as the European Commission and the World Bank. Yeah, over.
Thank you very much. I think if there, maybe it was very, very clear then. Everything was clear, so they might have, if you have your question also later on, maybe you can reach to us. I think we shared some of the useful links if you want to find us. Also, if there's anyone who answered about, for example, the colleagues about who they said they were working with any PDB, if you want to share some of your experience on the chat, of course, please do. And I think I will, maybe we can wrap up then. If I think, Thierry, if you want to say a few words before we close the session.
Thank you for this opportunity to present our platform. Also, it was for us also another way to present it, and we didn't have the same public as we are used to have. Normally, we are used to speak to public development banks. But indeed, we are more and more also in contact with other stakeholders, like central banks, or like I said, microfinance or commercial banks also, who would like to learn more about what we do. So we will continue to organize webinars and to promote them also on our website. So don't hesitate to go regularly on the website. And on the website, we share also all the concept notes and all the materials that is presented in every webinar. Marc, do you want?
Yeah, thanks, Thierry. First of all, thank you very much for this long-awaited presentation. We're really happy to learn more about what the Public Development Bank platform is all about and the incredible progress that you've made. I recall a few years ago when Christian Fousilet, who is actually in the house, I believe, and that's so great. He came over to start from the Agence Française de Développement, who has been a very strong supporter of the platform, as you've noticed. And I think secondments not the least. So we're very pleased to see the advancement of the platform. I mean, some people, especially us, more commercially oriented types, sometimes have a cynical eye towards the platforms. But what I think I've learned most about public development banks with your work is the great diversity of banks there are in most countries around the world. And of course, there are varying qualities. Some are really good, some are really innovative, some need some help in governance and management, as you've pointed out. And it's really encouraging to see how many tools and how many means of support there are to make the public development banks better. And in fact, in the last couple of months, I've seen us in our sovereign operations and other activities have to lean on public development banks to move into markets where the commercial actors aren't quite ready to go, so they can be real pioneers in that respect. So it's really great to see the advances and to have our eyes open just a little bit about what they can actually do in the context of helping our smallholder beneficiaries and rural development. So congratulations to you, Tafik, and all the people that have been working to really find the best and most effective ways for public development banks to help us in our shared mission. So thanks again for coming out. Really appreciate it. I see a question there. A hand came up, so go ahead.
No, it was just to complement. Indeed, what we also notice is that there is a real dynamic in this public development bank community, and every public development bank is really improving their internal procedure, raising the right questions, and participating in the national debates and pushing the national debates in environmental, climate issues, and contributing to the NDCs, for example, in every country. And we are just a tool that is accompanying this global dynamic. But it's impressive how things are moving from a the smallest actor, maybe the bank from Cook Island, to the biggest in ADBC China, and from the bank of Malawi to the bank of Mexico, who is one of the most advanced. So indeed, we have a large community, very diverse, but the same dynamic everywhere.
That's great. And listen, we had asked Rick Vanderkamp to participate today too, and we'd really like to give him a chance to say a word or two in the final wrap. Thanks, Rick.
Yeah, and very briefly, right? I'm sitting here much more from, let's say, the field perspective or the implementation perspective. One of the things that I've seen in my relatively short time at IFAD is the critical role that PDBs can sometimes play in, let's say, the skill area, right? So where we try and implement slightly more complex financial instruments, say a guarantee scheme or so, right? Oftentimes it's hard for governments to find the right people within the core project management unit. And when you can liaise and when you can bring in the public or the national development banks, oftentimes, they're much more comfortable with these kind of topics and they become a key partner in implementation. We've done this recently in Pakistan, for instance, where we worked with the state bank, and we're now setting up a guarantee scheme to allow banks to actually lend out from their balance sheet as opposed to just through a line of credit, which in turn helps a lot in co-financing and bringing more private sector capital into our project work as well. So that's just one of the examples, but just to highlight, right, the key importance and sometimes the crucial role that PDBs can play in all of this. Thanks.
Yeah, just thank you all very, very much for attending this meeting, and we will surely share the information about Agri-PDB and the upcoming working group on rural finance inclusion through the IRF network. And thanks to all the attendees, of course, thanks to all the speakers, to you, Jimena, Thierry, Mohamed, Ray, Alejandro, Mark, and Hania as well, Enrique. It was a pleasure to listen to your very interesting contribution and presentation. And I remember you that I have added some useful links to the chat box, so please check that out and stay updated, because the IRF will have 2 more events on the 3rd of December and the 11th of December. So looking forward to that, and I'm wishing you all a very good rest of the day. Bye, everyone.